Heidi, Part 9. Next morning Peter came again with his goats, and Heidi went up the pasture with them. This happened day after day, and in this healthy life Heidi grew strong. Soon the autumn came, and when the winds were blowing across the mountainside, the grandfather would say, "You must stay home today, Heidi, because the wind can blow you down." It always made Peter unhappy when Heidi did not come along. The goats were so accustomed to Heidi, they did not follow Peter when she was not with him. Heidi loved to watch her grandfather with his saw and hammer. Sometimes the grandfather would make small round cheeses. When the wind would blow, Heidi would put on her shoes and stockings as the weather got colder. When Peter could not come any more, for a deep snow had fallen overnight, Heidi would stand at her window, watching the snow falling down. In the afternoon, the steps were heard outside the door. It was Peter, who had come to see Heidi. "Good evening." He went up to the fire. Heidi had to laugh when she saw little water dripping down because all the ice and snow had melted in the great heat. The grandfather said to the boy, "Now that you have been warmed, you need some strengthening. Come and join us at supper." With that, the old man made a meal which satisfied Peter. It started to get dark, and Peter knew it was time to go. He had said goodbye and thank you. When turning to Heidi, he said, "I'll come next Sunday, if I may." "By the way, Heidi, Grandmother asked me to tell you that she would love to see you." Heidi approved of this idea. Her first word next morning was, "Grandfather, I must go down to Grandmother. She is expecting me." Grandfather wrapped the child up in her cover. He put her on his sled. Off they went, and Heidi shouted for joy, for she seemed to be flying like a bird. The sled had stopped in front of Peter's hut. The grandfather said, "Go in, visit, but when it gets dark, start on your way home." He turned homeward with his sled. Opening the door, Heidi entered, and near a table a woman was seated, busy mending Peter's coat. A bent old woman, who Heidi recognized immediately. Heidi at once said, "How do you do, Grandmother? I have come now, and I hope I haven't kept you waiting too long." Lifting her head, the grandmother said, "Are you the little girl who lives up with Uncle? Is your name Heidi?" "Yes," Heidi replied. "Grandfather just brought me down in the sled." Peter's mother had gotten up to look at the child. Heidi said, "Grandmother, look at the shutter over there. It's hanging loose. If Grandfather were here, he would fasten it." "What a sweet child you are," said the grandmother tenderly.